Hey, what's up? My name's Aaliyah and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some middle grade book recommendations. So if you've been here before, you know that once in a while I do talk about middle grade books, and everybody has been asking me for middle grade book recommendations, so here you go, we're doing it today. So I have a little bit of a list for you. Some of these are ones that I read like a long time ago, back when I was in middle school, and some of these are ones that I've been reading in the last like year or two, once I got back into middle grade. So, in no particular order, let's just get into these. So the first one I wanted to tell you about is one that people were talking about a lot a couple months ago, and that's Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. So this is a new middle grade fantasy book that came out a few months ago, and everybody was raving about it, and I read it back in, I think, like January, like at the beginning of 2021, and it was really super good. So it's the first book in a new series, and we follow this girl named Amari who is looking into her older brother Quentin's disappearance. He went missing a few months ago and nobody's been able to find him. There's no leads on where he went, and her mom is really distraught about it, so she goes into his room one day and is looking for clues as to where he went, and she finds a ticking briefcase in his closet, and she opens it, and the story kind of goes from there. So Amari ends up kind of discovering this magical world that's hidden like beneath the normal human world. So it's kind of an urban fantasy, and there's lots of different creatures in it, and there's magic users, and there's like a magic school kind of called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. So yes, if you like magic schools and you like, you know, Harry Potter-esque stuff, then this is something you should definitely check out because it's super good. And then also, before I get any more into this, I just wanted to say I've had a lot of people on my Bookstagram channel over the last like year or two, especially like people who were, you know, in their 20s or older. They like to tell me that they don't read middle grade because they think it's for kids, or because, you know, they're books that their kids are reading or whatever. And honestly, if you're an adult and you think you're too old for middle grade, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not too old for middle grade. Middle grade is awesome. It's super sweet, and a lot of times it's really funny and fast-paced because it has to hold kids' attention. So it's really fun, and I think if you're not reading middle grade, you're doing yourself a disservice, honestly. So no, you're not too old for middle grade. Don't leave that in my comments. I'm so tired of everybody telling me that. Anyways, that aside, let's get on with it. So the next one I wanted to share with you is The Only Black Girls in Town by Brandy Colbert. So I haven't really heard anybody talk about this, honestly. I picked this up on a whim from my local indie bookstore because they had this on sale because they said that this copy was damaged, even though it's like totally not. So I don't know what was going on there, but I picked it up for really cheap and I read it right away, and it was really, really good. I gave this 5 stars. So this is about a young girl named Alberta, and she lives in a small beachside town, and she is like the only black girl in this town. And so all her friends are white, and she goes to a middle school that's predominantly white. And then one day another young black girl moves to town, and her name's Eddie, and she's really cool, and she and Alberta kind of become friends, and they deal with a lot of different things while living in this town. They kind of are navigating some microaggressions at school and things like that. This book also explores queerness, so Alberta has 2 dads, and they're super sweet to her, and their family dynamic is super fun to read about. And so Alberta is really just like navigating being a young girl and kind of coming of age, and she's navigating like racism, and she's navigating like homophobia and stuff when people hear about her dads, and she's getting to know Eddie, and Eddie's from the big city, so she kind of comes from a different sort of background, and the two of them end up kind of discovering some mysterious things in the house that Eddie moves into, and so there's also like a mystery element to it, and so it was really good. It was super fun. It's really sweet. Their friendship is really cute. Yeah, I definitely recommend this if you have not heard of it before, because it's very good. And then the next one I wanted to talk to you about was the Lockwood Co series. So this is a series that I've talked about before on my channel, and I talk about it on my Instagram a lot too. So this is a middle grade ghost story series, and it's about these 3 kids, Anthony Lockwood, Lucy Carlisle, and George, and the 3 of them are basically like ghost hunters, if you will. So in this story, we're living in like an alternate version of London, and in this time there's been like a ghost outbreak, and the whole country is just like having all these hauntings in all these different houses and businesses and stuff, and so only the kids can see the ghosts. So it's a problem because if anybody gets touched by a ghost, they die. So the adults are like scared to leave their houses and stuff because they don't want to get touched by ghosts, because they can't avoid them because they can't see them. So it's like this whole thing. And so these kids who can see ghosts, they end up like teaming up and working for these like ghost hunting agencies. And so they go around London and they are hired by adults to come to their houses and eradicate the ghosts that are there. And so that's kind of the background to this whole story. So this is a 5-book series, I believe, and I'm on the last book right now. It's so good. These books are so funny, and they're so cute. So if you haven't read Lockwood Co, especially if you've never read middle grade before, read Lockwood Co. This series is so fun. Oh my god, I love it. So yes, I would say if you like anything spooky, like if you liked Goosebumps or anything like that, this is definitely for you. Like, it's not super scary or like gory or whatever, but it's definitely creepy, and there's been some moments where like as an adult I'm like, oh my god, I'm like sleeping with the light on. But that's also because I'm like kind of a chicken too. But yes, so Lockwood Co is one of my absolute favorites. And then another one of my absolute favorites from when I was a kid is The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. So everybody knows Rick Riordan for writing the Percy Jackson series and all that. But he also has this other trilogy that I think is a lot less popular than it should be, because I loved these books. So this is the first one, The Red Pyramid, and we follow a brother and sister, and their names are Connor and Sadie Kane. And this whole series is like full of Egyptian gods, and it's so fun. So if you like Egyptian stuff, you should totally read this. So we follow these 2 siblings, and their mom passed away when they were kids, and their father is raising the brother Carter, and the daughter went to go and live with the grandparents. And so the siblings have been split up for a long time. And at the beginning of the book, they are kind of brought back together by their dad, and they end up like going with him to this museum, and he seems to have some kind of agenda in going there, and something goes wrong, and one of the displays, one of the like artifacts at the museum, ends up getting like broken, and one of the old Egyptian gods gets released, and their dad gets like taken by this god. And so the 2 of them have to go on like this quest to get him back, and they end up meeting all these Egyptian gods and doing all this crazy stuff. And yeah, it's a whole thing. It's super fun though. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be Sadie Kane. Like that's how cool she was. I was in love with it. So yes, it's very fast-paced, and there's lots of like magical stuff going on, and you get to learn all the background on all these different gods and things. And then I remember they end up like living and training in this like mansion in New York. Yeah, and then there's like kind of some magic stuff going on at that mansion too. So yeah, this is super, super great. So if you haven't heard of this, or if you never picked this up before, you definitely should. It is a little bit chunky, but it goes really fast. And this one's really funny too. And then another one I wanted to tell you about is Clairvoyant. So this is one I just read within the last year, and this is about a young girl named Clara, and she ends up moving to a new house with her mom, and her mom is very like into horoscopes and like herbal remedies and stuff like that, and Clara is like the opposite. She's like, I don't believe in any of that stuff, I don't want anything to do with it. Her mom's like trying to get her to partake in rituals, and Clara's like, get me out of here. So Clara ends up going to this new middle school, and she wants to be an investigative journalist. So she ends up joining the journalism group there and like writing for the school newspaper and stuff. But it's kind of a competitive group, and so she gets assigned to write the horoscopes, and she's mad because she doesn't like the horoscopes. And then she ends up writing them, and then her horoscopes end up coming true, and then people think that maybe she's got some magic herself or something. So anyways, it's really cute and funny. Clara is such a snarky main character, so if you are into, yeah, like horoscopes and crystals and all that kind of stuff, then you should definitely read this one because it's super sweet and fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. I actually checked that one out from the library like on a whim because I really like the cover. It has like zodiac signs and stuff, but I haven't heard anybody really review that one either. And then another one I wanted to tell you about that I read as a kid is Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. So this is an older series, and I read this when I was in middle school and was like obsessed with it. So we follow this brother and sister, and they end up going to stay with their grandparents for the summer. And little did they know, their grandparents are the caretakers for this magical sanctuary that's like right next to their house. And so this magical sanctuary is like a safe haven for all of these mythical creatures. And so there's like centaurs and fairies and witches and all these different creatures that live in the sanctuary. And so they go to their grandparents' house thinking that their grandparents are just like normal folks. And then things start going wrong with the magical sanctuary, and some rules are broken, and then all of a sudden the sanctuary is no longer safe, and the kids have to kind of go on a journey and help their grandparents to ensure the safety of the magical creatures. So yes, that one is very fun. And there's also dragons. So if you like dragons, then you should check the series out. I remember really liking all the centaurs and all the magical creatures and stuff because they're just really cool. So yeah, the magical creatures are super awesome. So if you're into that, then you should definitely read this series. And I remember like the later books especially get like really intense. So that's a series that I really want to reread soon. But I don't know, I'm hoping that if I reread it, it holds up and that it doesn't like ruin my childhood memory of it. So I don't know, we'll see about that. But I did just check out book 1 from the library the other day, so might do a reread real soon. And then the last one I wanted to tell you about is one I read fairly recently, and that's The Second Best Haunted Hotel on Mercer Street. So this is another middle grade ghost story, and we follow this young girl, and her mom recently passed away, and she and her dad are running this haunted hotel, and there is kind of an issue where a new haunted hotel like chain has opened up like in the same town as them, and so they're trying to like get customers and like compete with this new haunted hotel. Meanwhile, the young girl's mother who passed away has now come back as a ghost, and she's also in the hotel, but she's kind of like, she's come back as a ghost, but she's not like all there. And so she kind of is like a spirit who's really like emotional and is crying and like scaring the guests and things. So it's about grief, it's about friendship, it's about like rebuilding your family after you've lost somebody who's really close to you. Yeah, it's really sweet. There's a lot of found family stuff going on in here. it's just a really lovely story. So if you like ghost stories that aren't necessarily like creepy, they're more like sweet, happy ghosts, like Casper kind of ghosts, then this one is definitely for you. It would also be perfect for the spooky season. This book also has some really cool illustrations in it that are really nice. So yes, that's another one I picked up just on the whim from the library because I saw it and I thought it was cute. So yes, those are my middle grade book recommendations for you. If you have any recommendations for me, please leave them in the comments. I love middle grade. I'm always looking for more. I also might do a new video soon because I just got some new spooky middle grade books. So if you're interested in seeing me talk about those, then comment down below and let me know. Also, if you got to the end of this video, leave me an orange heart emoji in the comments. And also, if you haven't checked out my other platforms, I have my Bookstagram and my Twitter linked down below. As always, you should go check that out because I review a lot of middle grade books on my Instagram too. So yes, that is all I have for you today. I hope you have a lovely day wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!